Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Zach Matson. And besides his journey in real estate and business, we're going to talk about what he's doing with infill development, especially with the housing things going on here, especially in Boise. We'll talk about all that. But Zach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Hey, guys, I want you to remember, here at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, kind of all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business. And we do that by providing tools and resources to help grow the business they want and live the life they wanted to live. So, Zach, man, I'm excited to talk about our topic today. But before we do that, do me a favor and kind of tell our audience a little bit about you and kind of your background and your in real estate and what got you to today.
Yeah, so I started reading about real estate way back in like 2006, going to seminars.
Don't say that, the purple book.
Yeah, it was.
The purple book.
Yep.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep, absolutely. And then that kind of, that sparked my interest. And then I bought, it took me a few years, but I bought my first duplex in 2013 in Boise when I moved here. And that kind of house hacked there. So I lived in one side basically for free. Rented out the other side, and then bought my second one a little less than 2 years later. And then about 6 months after that, got into flipping houses full time.
Okay.
And so that took me for a few years. And then I got into real estate development and new construction. Starting in 2019, I bought my first project and kind of made the full transition over 2020, 2021.
Yep.
And so that's what I do to this day now. And I'm in infill development now.
Sweet. All right. If you've watched any of my podcasts, I like to go back. So before you read the book or you got your little introduction to real estate, what were you doing?
I was managing a retail furniture store.
Okay. Was there any influences in your life, that were in real estate? Maybe an agent, someone who's building. I mean, was there any of that past?
Yeah, not really. I think it was just sparked really from reading the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then kind of then that kind of sparked it. But then I just started going to seminars and stuff. So
okay. When you say seminars, were they kind of like local weekly meetups? Were you going to like masterminds? What were you doing?
Those were, kind of back in the day, was, Rich Dad Poor Dad actually put on like these free 2-day seminars or 1-day seminars, so that kind of thing. And then other companies were doing it also. So did some of those, and, a lot of those were pitches to, longer term, bigger things. And I actually eventually did one in 2014, I think it was.
Okay. What did you do?
I forget the name of that one now, but it was essentially like they bring you on like 3 different weekend-long training things on learning how to flip houses. The flipping formula, I think, is what it was called. I'm not sure if they're around anymore, but so I invested in myself and learned how to do it, and it really was a good investment. I made my money back that I paid on that on my very first flip, and it kind of gave me the confidence I needed to continue forward with that. And there's all the information is out there for probably less money than what I spent on it, but it was nice that it's all compiled in one place, and I could spend, the 3 weekends over the course of a few months learning it all and giving me the confidence to do it.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, and it's like you said, I mean, you could have went and learned elsewhere, but why was it important for you to be able to focus on, and I guess this is kind of a mentorship, right? So why was it important for you to have that route versus the whatever I could find online and other type of information?
Yeah, I think it was because it was structured. So the structure helped, and there was a commitment from me monetarily. I think if I hadn't committed to it monetarily, it would have been like, oh, I'll do this eventually, and I'll learn for 3 years, picking up stuff, but I'll never make the commitment.
Sure.
Or it'll take me a longer time to commit to doing it. And that was kind of the case for, from 2006 when I went to my very first free seminar to my first purchase in 2013. It took me 7 years. So, whereas when I paid for that course, from that point to my very first deal that I bought was like maybe 3 months.
Okay. So it accelerated your learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. When you started, what were some of the struggles you ran into? Like things that were, when you started your business, like, man, this is difficult, more difficult than I thought.
Yeah. So to me, it was scaling. So, when I was flipping houses, I was, I did that for a few years and I was trying every which way, so I learned a lot during that flipping, and that got me, confident to start. I probably should have, went through more mentorship on how to scale, but I never did that. So I was kind of trying to figure that out on my own. So, part of it was, just learning how to scale efficiently and, kind of by trial and error a little bit, and, probably relying on or taking too long to switch gears on how I knew I should have scaled. So
now, when you say scale, do you mean scaling to do more deals, to with a bigger team internally, bigger construction teams? I mean, what does that scale look like?
Yeah, so doing more deals. So at the time, I was doing, I started with one flip at a time. I was doing a lot of the work myself, and I was trying to hire contractors, and I was basically doing 1 or 2 deals at a time all the time over the course of the 3 or 4 years that I was trying to flip. And so I really didn't get to the scalability aspect until I switched to infill development.
Okay. And then what made you make that switch, or how did you find the infill stuff?
Yeah. So, while I was flipping, I found a couple of, build lots that, well, actually one house was a teardown, and I wasn't planning on building new construction, but it kind of turned out that the house had to be like a complete teardown. And so because I wasn't familiar with new construction, I actually sold that after we tore it down, and we still made money on that, a little bit of money,
sure,
because we got such a good deal on it because it was a teardown. But then there's another lot that we thought we could build 3 houses. Turned out it was 2, so we ended up buying that one. But then that basically kind of like got me interested in the new construction and infill. And as I started analyzing deals, I realized where there was potential to build multiple houses versus just doing one flip, and the profit margin was a lot greater.
Right. How did you learn to do the new construction? Just from your time flipping homes? I mean, was there anything specific you went out and pursued as far as knowledge?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it was, when I first bought my very first duplex, I fixed up, the half I was living in. I did that on my second house I owned. So I learned the construction knowledge piece there, as far as like processes. I didn't necessarily, I don't have a construction background. But I, kind of learned that there's, steps to construction. And then during the flipping process, I actually became a GC. So then I, learned
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
More of the trades than more, working with other trades and finding contractors. I also had a small crew, so kind of learned how to teach other people to do what I was doing, that kind of thing. So kind of a self-taught a little bit, but then getting into new construction, realizing, and even really at the tail end of flipping with my own crew, realized it was more efficient to hire subcontractors. From a time perspective, a lot of times they would cost a little bit more money, but they would get something done in a day or two, whereas my guys would take maybe an entire week because they weren't specialized in it. So then when you factor out those costs associated with paying your guys for a week and all the employee costs associated with that versus hiring a subcontractor that, they might cost double, but in the long run, it's basically the same cost. So, so then, just transferring that then to new construction. And, when I first did my first construction deal, I had to work through, there's good and bad contractors and everything. So I had to work through the subs. And eventually I found, a really great team of subcontractors for every trade.
That's awesome. How did you find that? I mean, besides the trial and error part, I mean, did you get referrals on any of these guys or anything like that?
I think I found some through some Facebook groups. A lot of them, I'm trying to think back to where I found them. I think it was, probably some Facebook construction groups, contractor groups. It wasn't, Google or, anything like that. The guys I use in new construction are like, they don't have their names plastered all over the side of their truck. Typically when you get there with subcontractors, they're not efficiently priced for new construction and make any kind of margin as the builder. So yeah, it's a lot of guys. I think I was probably recommended, some other subs also, a lot of subs know other subs. So I think, for example, my concrete guys knew, some framers, and the framers knew an electrician, and that kind of thing. So you get a lot of referrals from other subs that work with these other subs on other jobs.
Right on. What are you seeing, or what do you think are some of the mistakes people make when they get into new construction, going from flipping to new construction, hypothetically?
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest mistake, I guess, was during the process, and this is still to this day always a challenge, but this was especially during the pandemic where, we had supply issues. And I kind of let contractors say, tell me, oh, well, we can't get this material. We're going to push you off for, they tell me it's like 2 weeks, but then it's like turns into 3, then 4, then 3 months. And, over time, that basically led to, 2 houses taking, 6 months longer to finish. Well, that's 6 months of interest charges you pay. It ended up being, we missed the top of the market, so we ended up selling them for less. Now, during the process of like when I bought the land to like being built, those prices increased incredibly. So I did really well on those still. But I missed the top of the market by, 10%, because at that point, Boise had kind of, slowed down a little bit and prices dipped due to the interest rates increasing. So that was basically like, from the point I sold my first few houses in that subdivision to, when it's leveled off a little bit, it took me 6 months longer and missed the top of the market.
Got it. So what does your team and your business look like today? Like, what's your focus? What are you building? What's your lead gen look like? Those type of things.
Yeah, so today I actually still operate with a small team. I have my creative director, and then I have partnerships with other people for like project management, for entitlements, and also construction. Then I have all my subcontractors for basically every trade. And then I use VAs for a lot of stuff. So, we're able to operate a small team. Towards the end of this year, I'll actually hire probably 2 or 3 more people full time. But right now it's kind of lean and mean. And we're transitioning into like scaling up into larger scale. So before this, we were doing, 10 houses a year. Now we're, last year.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Alone, I picked up basically we're in partnership or on our own, have more than 80 doors in the pipeline.
Nice. All new build, new construction.
Yeah. Yep. So some of those
Sweet.
are, small subdivisions. I have a couple of small multifamily and then a condo development.
That's awesome. So how are you sourcing your deals? Are you buying from wholesalers? What are you looking just for land that's on the market? What are you doing?
Yeah. So some of it is on the market. Let me think. So two of my subdivisions I bought were on the MLS, and because of the interest rates and because the builders were kind of unsure, a lot of builders weren't buying land, and so that put a downward pressure on prices. So at the end of 2023, I saw some opportunities coming up where land was actually becoming a better deal now on the MLS. And so last year I kind of committed to scaling that way, and I found some good deals on the MLS and bought those. And then, a couple of deals were brought to me off market just from people I know in the investing community that
in the space. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty niche too. Like where I do infill development, there's really in Boise, there's not a lot of people that do it. There's very little competition. So, and I network a lot. So the guys that know what I do, I kind of feel like I'm probably the only guy that they know that does it.
Okay.
Or I'm one of two guys, and there's only maybe a dozen or so of us that do the type of deals that I do. So it's easier to when you have a niche, it's easier to be that big fish in a small pond, even though I'm really the small fish in the big pond, nationally or even locally as builders, but I have a very cool niche where, I'm, known to do what I do.
Why do so little people do it? Why is it only you and another guy maybe? Why doesn't more flippers, builders, whatever, go after infill lots?
Yeah, so I think the challenge, and I run into this to this day, is that really with land, you pretty much have to buy it in cash. You don't get traditional bank loans. Some banks will loan on land, but then it's such a pain in the butt to get the funding. You still have to put a lot of money down. It's actually easier to just buy them cash, and then your financing on the tail end is easier to do that too. But then you're sitting on that land for 3 years before you have a finished product. So one, if people want to use their own cash, they'd rather maybe buy a flip for the same amount of money and turn around and make 30, 40 grand in 6 months versus a lot more in 3 years. And then the same thing I run into with trying to scale when we're trying to raise money, is a lot of people tell me that they want their money turned around faster. And so, you don't typically get the kind of returns when you turn the money around faster. And there's not as many deals now in Boise that you have the kind of returns that people expect. So that's the challenge, is just it's a little bit longer play. It's still shorter than, these guys that are doing, a lot of apartment syndications. A lot of those deals are, 5 to 8 years.
Right.
So, I tell people it's, 2.5 years on the best possible scenario from, if you buy unentitled land, and then it could take up to 5 years, but it's usually in that 3 to 3.5 year mark.
You mentioned buying them in cash. Do you ever buy them in creative finance, like seller finance, anything like that?
Yeah, we do that. I have a couple deals that we've done with seller financing, and that's the ideal situation if you can find off market, especially, and you can creatively either have the seller carry the note, or one of the deal with the this partnership that I have is actually a partnership with the landowner or homeowner. So
okay. When you're Finding these infill lots, you say it takes about 3 years. Why does it take so long? Is it to get that entitlements, to get all the plans approved and do all that? I mean, is that the reason why the length?
Yeah, it's basically it's three separate distinct processes that take a little bit of time. So the first is entitlement, and that's basically getting a project approved. And so there's multiple steps with that. So you have to get planning and zoning approval, city council approval, and then you have to get your civil plans approved. And so those three approvals, the first two maybe take like 6 months, but then the plans a lot of times take another 3 to 6 months.
Got it.
And so you need all three of those approvals before you can break ground. None of this is really super efficient with the government agencies either.
No.
The civil plans you can have your engineer come up with in a month, but then like all the processes with the city takes another 11. So,
Yeah.
and then you have the next phase is the development. So that's a horizontal, everything, ground level and below. So that's putting in your sewer, water lines, fire hydrants, street lights, that kind of thing. And that construction process, again, that doesn't take a super long time. It's typically maybe 4 to 6 months. But then at the tail end, you have to have the plat signed off on, and then that goes through, I think, 8 different agencies. They have to sign it, and it's not like you bring it in and they sign it that day.
Right.
They have like an 8-week review process, each one of them. So it's just super inefficient, through the agencies, really. Some of the zoning stuff has gotten easier with, the Boise has updated their zoning code. So some of the processes have gotten a little easier and shortened time frames. And a lot of other towns around here are following suit with that. But it's still just, takes time with all this stuff.
Got it.
Then the third phase is obviously the vertical building. And then that, takes 6 to 7 months to build a house, sometimes 8. But then you have to get it sold. And, so that process basically, even if it sells right away, it still takes a month and a half to close. So best case scenario, you're looking at, 7 months to build and sell a house. But that's really, that's best case scenario. You usually want to plan for a year.
Got it. What trends are you seeing in real estate investing now? Whether it's new construction, whether it's, flips, whatever, any specific trends that you're starting to see?
Yeah, so what we are focusing on for other people as well. So we do our own development deals, and those are the longer plays. But then what we're focusing on right now for bringing in additional revenue is actually doing lot splits for people. And so we have the team and skills already in place to identify properties that, somebody can buy with a traditional mortgage and split off a lot and add another rental unit. Or actually, in this case, a lot of times it's 2, 3, 4, 5 doors on the same property that you split off, or maybe you can split off multiple lots.
Okay.
And so there's a really huge opportunity. At least I've noticed this in Boise and Meridian, and we haven't really looked at the other cities yet, but I'm sure there's the same opportunity where somebody can go buy a house with a regular mortgage, and then, when they have a regular mortgage on it and rent it out or live in it or whatever, that buys them some time to go through that 1 year process of splitting that lot off. But now you can split the lot off, and all of a sudden you're creating 6 figures in equity just by splitting off that lot. And you can either sell that lot or, build on it. So basically what we're kind of like pitching to other people is, hey, let us split this lot off for you. We can add rental units. And because you're in the land now for essentially like the administrative costs of splitting that, now you can build a rental unit, and you're walking into it with huge amount of equity where you don't have to put that, 40% down or 25% down to cash flow. And you can actually cash flow, or worst case break even, but not putting a huge amount of extra money into it. So you can ultimately turn one rental or one rental door into, typically 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 other additional doors, with not a whole lot of money extra out of pocket.
That's awesome. That's a great strategy, man. What do you think your keys to success? Well, what do you look back on your experience, your growth? What do you think your keys to success are?
I think number one is just persistence. I mean, business is hard. Real estate is hard. You run into problems that once you go through them, you're like, man, I should have seen that coming. But, there's just a lot of things you have to work through. And I think the people that make it and are successful, like, are persistent, and they work through issues and they figure it out and they just stick to it. And eventually everything comes together and it works great.
Right on. If folks are out there listening to this, they want to talk to you about kind of what you're doing with the Infill land. I mean, it just want to pick your brain on anything. I mean, I guess, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, the best way is, well, number one, follow us on social media. We're Matson Homes. And then also my, that flippin' guy on Instagram. And so, and then you can send me a direct message back. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's flippin' without the G at the end, but then goes into guy. So just one G. Yeah, so reach out to us on socials. You can send me an email if you have questions about specific things in Boise, especially, or Boise and surrounding areas. It's Zach, Z-A-C-H, at matsonhomebuilders.com. So yeah, that's, we also have a YouTube channel, Invest, Build, and Prosper. And so we have a podcast ourselves that we kind of do. And then we also have all kinds of fun, reels and stuff about what we're doing. So
awesome, man, guys, check it out. Go on the site. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes. So those links will be in there. Zach, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that stuff, dude. I love what you're doing. It's good to talk to someone in Boise. Love to get together for some coffee sometime, but
yeah, for sure.
Guys, if you have any interest in talking with Zach, learning more about, please reach out to him. I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. I know I sure did. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.